Okay, how to increase your mileage safely. Now, it's a common question, and hopefully by the end of this video, you get a really good idea of how to increase your mileage safely. So you're getting the benefits of more endurance, you're getting the benefits of more volume, and therefore you're becoming a better runner, but in the safest, most effective, efficient way. And that's the important part. We always want to be aiming for optimal. If you just do more, you're going to improve somewhat, but is it the strongest way? Is it the best way that you can possibly move forward? You've got to always be asking yourself that. So first of all, if we look at the 10% rule, what does that actually mean? You can see it and you probably type it into Google now and it'll tell you, go off the 10% rule. What that means is the total volume of your week moves forward by 10%. So let's say, for instance, you're doing 50 kilometers a week and you do 6 runs. So you're doing 4 easy runs or recovery runs, and they're 5 kilometers each. That's 20 kilometers. You're doing a long run, which is also 20 kilometers. And then you're doing an interval session, which is 10 kilometers total volume. Remember to include the warm-ups and the cool down. It's how much running your body is actually doing. So if you're going to increase that by 10%, what does that look like? Probably looks like you can put the extra volume on the interval session, so you're going to be running a little bit more fast work, and you're also going to be running a little bit further on your long run. And that's where you're going to get the main super compensation. So that's where you want to put the extra work. But remember, the quickest way or the main way that people get injured is too much volume too quickly, too much long run too quickly, so too many miles or too many kilometers on the long run, too much fast running too quickly, too much hills too quickly, or too much of a different terrain too quickly. So if we think of those 5 things and we think, how can I improve all of those gradually? What that looks like when you're talking about the 10% rule, or you're thinking about the 10% rule, is you're going to put a little bit more on the interval session. So a little bit more faster running and a little bit more further running. So you're boosting your endurance and stamina on the weekend long run, and you're boosting your speed endurance on the midweek interval session. As simple as that. No need to overcomplicate it. Next thing you need to do is to listen to your body. And I know it sounds so rudimentary, so simple, but you'd be surprised at how many runners have this mindset of, I've just got to push through. Just got to push through the pain or push through and it's all going to happen for me. I'm going to become the runner that I want to be. I'm going to hit my goal. First of all, you've got to know what you mean by pain. If we're running and we're distance running, there's going to be a point that we build endurance, we build stamina to a level that we can run far enough that we're lucky enough to feel discomfort, to actually suffer. And that usually is in the form of muscle fatigue in some way, shape or form, but it can lead to cramps and things like that. And usually it's an incompetence thing when you really learn about it because you haven't hydrated properly, you haven't put the right electrolytes in, or you haven't had the right food before or during. Your nutrition is off in some way. The carbohydrates you're taking per hour is off, and therefore you can run far enough where you can suffer or be in discomfort. Pain is a different word altogether. So if we feel pain, there's a problem. And if you can stop, stretch, fix it, and then proceed, fantastic. But if there is a serious problem, then you need to seek out somebody who can actually see you face to face, a physical therapist or a physiotherapist, and actually figure out that. But listening to your body is the rest and the recovery. If you look at your training right now, and let's say you're that runner who's doing 50 kilometers per week, 30 miles per week, if you focused more on rest and recovery, more on sleep and really boxing off your sleep, and put a lot more attention and focus onto your sleep, chances are you'd become a better runner. By the way of you'd be able to run faster because you've got more accumulated rest. You're more fresh because your sleep is better. Most people are saying, I can survive on 6-7 hours. I've got to be at work for 7 o'clock and I've got to be here. I've got to do this and I've got to prioritize my fitness. Sleep is the fundamental of everything. If you get that right and you reduce your stress enough and you get your diet sorted out, then you're in a place to be able to train really hard and get as much super compensation from the key sessions as possible. We also need to think about the active recovery. So what are we actually doing in between the key sessions, in between the faster and the longer session? That's a recovery run. What does that look like? Super easy, just helping the body recover from the fast session or the fast session that it's done and get it ready for the next day's easy run. Active recovery is going to flush oxygen-rich blood around the body so that we accelerate the recovery, so we recover faster and fuller, ready to do the next big session. As simple as that. And that active recovery is crucial to becoming a good runner. Again, nutrition. It's incredible how many people sort of are trying to move forward, trying to get faster, trying to hit lofty goals. They're not considering nutrition, especially if you're doing something far like a half marathon or ultra marathon. The further you go, the more nutrition becomes the most important aspect of the game, especially with an ultra marathon and a marathon. If you haven't got your nutrition sorted out for a marathon or an ultra marathon, you're gonna get found out no matter how good your training is. So that's an element of your game you need to look at. So in race and pre-race nutrition, but also the overall nutrition. If you got into running and you're watching this, so you clearly want to get faster, it's likely that your running is really important to you. And so naturally, as you're trying to get faster, you'll realize that the more power you have, the more speed you have, and the lighter you are, the faster you're going to move forward to a point. And so your diet needs to be clean. Your diet needs to be, okay, 5, 6, 7 meals per day, smaller quantities, understand the macronutrient values, which is a completely another video. Eating at the right times, not eating less than 2 hours before bed, looking after our body and treating it like the temple that it is. Super, super, super important. The next point is simply, if you want to improve your mileage, and you've asked yourself why, and it's because you want more endurance, or it's because you want to run faster, then you can always cross-train. You can always add a cycle session, or a cross-country skiing session, or a swimming session, and that can improve your overall volume. Remember that you're building an engine. So you're building your lungs and your heart to be able to manage the faster running and the far running. So you're able to go long and at pace, and those two nicely feed into each other. It's super important if you can get some of that from cycling. Like I would always do 3-4 sessions a week on the bike, and they would be after my easy runs and recovery runs, and sometimes they would be immediately after, and sometimes later on in the day. What that was doing was giving me another 6 to 10 to 15 hours on top of the training week in order to make me a bigger aerobic base, which would make me tap into that when I was trying to run fast, when I was in a race, or when I was trying to run long. And the more you've got access to, the bigger your engine, the faster you're going to be. It's that simple. So these are really important points, but just keep it simple. Don't try to do too much too soon. And if you remember at the start, the easiest ways or the quickest ways to get injured is too much volume too quickly, too much of your long run too quickly, too much speed too quickly, too many hills too quickly, and too much of a different terrain too quickly. So if you're used to running on a treadmill, if you're used to running on a tarmac, all of a sudden you start to run on a trail, that may cause you problems if you do too much too soon. So the key word, as unsexy as it is gradual. And if you really kind of master that and appreciate consistency and the discipline it takes, you will reap the rewards within 2 to 3 months plus from now. Good luck, and if you got anything from this, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.